Hello and welcome to Sweet Home California. My name is Jennifer, and yes, I am in Southern California, but it is cold in my workshop out here. It was 30 degrees when I woke up this morning. So I've got the pellet stove going here, and I'm waiting for it to warm up a little bit before I get started working on what I need to put out today. In the meantime, I thought I would let you know my thoughts on the current election. I've got my voter information guide and sample ballot here for Kern County in California. And at this point, it is too late to sign up as a working in the poll. However, it is not too late to be an observer. Any citizen can be an observer at any of the election polls, and the rules are that you cannot have any sort of nominee written on your clothing. However, you can go into a polling place with slogans. So if you are in support of the current occupant of the White House, you could have a t-shirt on that says "Build Back Better." If you, on the other hand, are in favor of the one that didn't get into the White House for his second term, you could have NAGA on your shirt, and they will not be able to tell you to leave or take it off. However, if you've got any candidate's name on, then that's not allowed. But in any case, I just wanted to let you know that. Apparently, that's a little bit of a clarification. I don't know if this has changed, but it's a clarification on what's allowed, what's considered electioneering. You cannot electioneer within 100 feet of a poll place. But here in California, of course, you have Governor Newsom is running against Brian Daly. Haven't heard a lot from Brian. He is the Republican nominee for governor. And unlike when during the recall, we had some big names and there were debates, and at least among the challengers to Gavin Newsom, and of course Larry Elder being a national name, and a lot more name recognition, we heard a lot more about the recall race than we're hearing about this governor race, which is going to be for 4 terms, whereas the recall election would have only been for whatever the remaining amount of the term was going to be, which really would have been about a year. So I'm not holding out a lot of hope. I'm still, of course, going to vote, and I urge you to vote if you're out here in California. Vote for Brian Daly. He seems, by all measures that I can look up, to be a very decent guy. He is a farmer. He represents, I think, the Shasta region as a state representative right now. And I'm not sure how long he's been in that, but his family has been in farming in Northern California for years. And so he understands what a lot of California families are going through right now. And so for that reason, I would definitely recommend that you do vote for him and just pray, because that's all we can do. Just put it in God's hands. And maybe that's where we're at right now, is just we have to depend on God, and then that's when good things will hopefully happen. Don't know if it'll happen this time around, or if we might not have hit rock bottom yet. Only the Lord knows on that one. So anyhow, of course, for Lieutenant Governor, I don't know anything about either one of these candidates. I'm just going to go ahead and vote for the Republican because I know what the Democrats are going to do. I'm just hopeful that at this point we can't judge based on whether they are a rhino or they are MAGA. We just got to trust that the Republican, the one with the R by the name, is going to be better for small government, better for individual rights, and vote for, hold our nose, even, if they're bad. I don't know. Some of these people I just couldn't find any information on. But anyhow, I'm going to be voting for the Republicans wherever the Republicans are. Now on my particular ballot, I'll just breeze through the rest of them here for me. We've got Secretary of State and Treasurer and Attorney General and Insurance Commissioner, a State Board of Equalization, which apparently is something that is supposed to make it even across the state in terms of how they do property taxes. Anyhow, all of those, I'm going to go ahead. And there is a Republican that is running. I'm going to go ahead and vote for the Republican. Same thing for the U.S. State Senator. His name is Mark Musser. I'm going to vote for him. He is a constitutional attorney, so that's promising. And then, of course, for my United States representative, I am in Kevin McCarthy's district. And we have what is called a jungle primary here in California, so it's really tough to try and remove a rhino, because in a primary it is the Democrats and Republicans and Independents and everybody, and the top two vote getters are what end up being on this ballot. And so, yeah, you got a big name like Kevin McCarthy. There's no way a Republican can successfully run against him. All that would possibly happen is that you wind up with two Democrats on the ballot instead. So I did vote for Kevin McCarthy in the primary, and I am going to be voting for him here as well for the general election. Now here's something interesting, because again, I told you this is it's a jungle primary, but our district within California is so Republican. We did manage to have two Republicans on the ballot for the state assembly in California. We've got Tom Lackey, who is the incumbent, and we have a newcomer, Thurston Smitty Smith. Now, I've received a number of political ads in the mail, both saying that that Smitty is liberal, and one saying that Tom Lackey is a liberal, and that they both are going to spend too much money. Well, I'm going to tell you on this one, I'm going with the newcomer. Tom Lackey has been in office for a really long time, and supposedly has voted with Newsom way too many times. So I'm going to give the new guy a chance on that one. That's Thurston Smitty Smith in District 34 in California. So I'm sure there's not too many of you necessarily that might be in that position, but if all other things being equal, I'm going to go with the new guy in this particular case. Give him a chance. Now, here's something interesting in California. We vote on the Supreme Court, at the state level, Supreme Court, the judges. But there's nobody running against them. It's just a matter of, hey, the governor appointed this person. Do you want to keep him in office? Yes or no? And they have 12-year terms. They aren't lifetime appointments like the United States Supreme Court. And this is considered nonpartisan. However, apparently every single one of the current Supreme Court justices for the state of California have all been appointed by Democrat governors. So what do you think the odds are that any of them are conservative? Slim to none. Well, I don't know anything about these folks. I did look up to try and find out what has been their rulings that they've done, but it's not anything real easy to find out. And I looked in the looked up, what happens. Can you recall them? Well, you can. It's not a matter of recall. It's just that you don't appoint them to another term. And so if they get enough no votes, they get less than 50% yes for them to stay in, then basically just the governor gets to appoint a new one. Well, I'm hoping that Brian Dahle is going to be the new one. So I'm going to go ahead and just vote no on all of those justices, because I can guarantee you this: the way that court cases have been going here in California, they are way too liberal and want to interpret our Constitution as being this changeable document, and it's not. Individual rights are still given by God and should be observed by whoever is in power, and I don't feel like our current justices are doing that. So I'm going to vote no on every single one of them. And yes, if Newsom winds up still being in office, all he's going to do is appoint somebody else. And they are on the Supreme Court until the next election. And that's when you get to say whether you want to keep them in or vote them out at that point. So, but I'm going to say no to all of them and hope that Brian Dahle gets to appoint some new people. So if you're in California and you're Republican, I would recommend that you do the same. Other things that we've got on here are going to be There's more things having to do with the Justice Department. Um, Again, really hard to find information on that, which is very frustrating. And in my handy dandy booklet here, it doesn't tell you much about all these different people. But I did find something on the state superintendent for public instruction, and that's a state level. We have the incumbent Tony Thurmond versus his challenger, who is Lance Ray Christensen. Now, this is supposed to be nonpartisan, so they don't have party affiliations next to their names. But when I looked up what they think, Lance Christensen is Republican, and he has worked in the state legislature as a Republican, and has worked for the Republican Party. And he's planning on appointing a parent liaison, and try and work towards getting more confidence in our public school system. He pointed out that in Los Angeles, which is one of the biggest school districts in the country, 10 years ago, it was 725,000 students were in the LA school district. That number is now down to 450,000. That's an incredible drop. What happened to all those kids? Did they all move out, or are they being homeschooled? Have they switched over to private schools? I don't know, but our schools are failing our kids, and the incumbent isn't doing the job, and I'm going to give that to the new guy and hope for the best on that. So I hope you'll consider that as well. Others are a lot more local. And I'm not going to take your time up with that, because it's just going to be like, I don't know, maybe one or two of you might be in my area. And if so, put it down in the comments area if you are in the southern Kern County that might be affected by any of these. But a lot of people that are running had the opportunity to put a short bio in the pamphlet here. You know, they have like a little area there where you could write a good amount. Some people chose to write like 2 sentences, and some people chose not to put anything in there at all. And searching their names on the internet, couldn't find anything that they're campaigning on. So if you're going to run for office, the least you can do is have a website and take advantage of being able to put a candidate statement in your voter guide. Other things that are in here you will find, and this should be common for everyone, no matter where you're voting, is that if you have different propositions, and I had another video where I talked about the different propositions on my ballot, that they will have supposedly an impartial analysis on the different ballot measures that are to be voted on, and read those. You know, read what they have to say, and then do a research on the internet to see if you can find some more information that are not, quote unquote, impartial, that tell you the pluses and minuses of whether or not you should vote on the measure. My blanket rule of thumb on propositions is generally vote no, especially if the ruling party, that the majority of your state is are liberals, because chances are those propositions are going to be more restrictions, more regulation, more government intrusion, and higher taxes. And that's pretty much the case on all the propositions that I had in my ballot, except for one thing where they are asking for term limits on county supervisors. That's the one thing that I'm actually going to vote yes on in my particular case. But for everything else, I am voting no. But do your own research. Make sure you're reading your ballot information, and then search the internet, see if you can find some additional information, because obviously, this is only going to give you one point of view. So anyhow, let me know your thoughts down below. Keep praying on this election. Really, we're not going to make it through without God's help, and he does answer the prayers of his people, but we got to get on our knees, and we have to ask for it. We have to seek forgiveness, repentance, and encourage our neighbors to go out and vote as well. Don't give up. Don't think, oh well, the last election had shenanigans, this one will too. Yeah, it might, but if you get out and you're at the polls, if you go to your counting locations, on election day and after, where they are verifying signatures and things like that. The more eyes on we have, the better chance that they're not going to get away with things, and things will go the right way, whatever that way may be. Anyhow, God bless. I appreciate you watching, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.